All right, lesson 5 is talking about dividing decimals. So let's look at the steps first. So the first step, and that's the important step, is that the divisor must be a whole number. So that's just the divisor. The dividend does not have to be whole. If the divisor is a whole number, then move the decimal point in the divisor to the right until it becomes a whole number. So if it isn't, that should say. If the divisor isn't a whole number, we have to move the decimal point in the divisor to the right until it becomes a whole number. Then we move the decimal point in the dividend the same amount of times to the right. So if I moved it once, I gotta move it once. If I moved it twice, I gotta move it twice. And then put the decimal in our quotient directly above the new decimal in our dividend. And then divide as we would whole numbers. Add zeros if we have a remainder and continue to divide until you get a remainder of 0 or notice a repeating decimal. So first example. Got 42 and 79 hundredths divided by 2 and 2/10. Okay, so again, what has to be true is that what we are dividing by has to be a whole number. Right now it's not. Doesn't matter if this is a decimal, it matters that this one is. So I'm going to move my decimal to the right. I only have to move it once. Well, if I do that here, I have to do the same thing here. I'm going to move the decimal once. So the new numbers that I'm dividing here are 427 and 9/10 divided by 22. And then I can go ahead and set that up. So we've got 427 and 9/10 divided by 22. So when I'm dividing, basically what I need is I need to know my multiples of whatever I'm dividing by up to 9. 22 I might not know off the top of my head, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write those multiples on the side. So we've got 22, 44, 66, 88, 110, 132, 154, 176, 198. And that should be the first 9, and that's all that we need. It's going to make it easier when I'm doing this division here. So I look, does 22 go into 4? Nope. Goes into 4. Not at all. So I look, does it go into 42? Yes, it goes in 1 time. Then I multiply. 22 times 1 is 22. And subtract. 42 minus 22 is 20. So I bring down the 7. 22 goes in 207. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Then I multiply. 22 times 9 gave me 198. And I subtract. 207 minus 198 gives me 9. Bring down the 9. Okay. If the decimal's here in my dividend, then the decimal's going to go directly above that in my quotient or my answer. And I look, 22 goes into 99. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 22 times 4 is 88. Subtract. 99 minus 88 is 11. I have a remainder. I don't have anything to pull down, so I'm going to add a 0. Bring down that 0. 22 goes into 110. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 22 times 5 is exactly 110. So now when I subtract, I get a remainder of 0, which means that my answer is 19 and 45 hundredths. Next example, we've got 753 divided by 2/10. So again, first step, doesn't matter what the dividend, it matters that the divisor has to be a whole number. So I'm going to move my decimal over once. If I move it once here, I have to move it once here. Well, there's no decimal here, but technically there's one here. Okay, so I can move this once, and I'm going to fill in that space with a 0. So basically I'm dividing 7,530 by 2. And then I'm going to write that out here. We've got 400, nope, I'm looking over there, 7,530 divided by 2. So I could write out my multiples of 2 on the side. Might be a little bit easier to do off the top of your head, but if not, go ahead and write it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. You always need the first 9. And then we can go ahead and divide. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down the 5. 2 goes into 15. 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. Subtract. 15 minus 14 is 1. Bring down the 3. 2 goes into 13. 6 times. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract 13 minus 12 is 1. Bring down the 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times to give us our remainder of 0. Our decimal technically would have been here, so we can include it. We don't have to. Our number is 3,765. So the last problem I'm going to give you, I want you to try it on your own. We've got 4 and 751 thousandths divided by 9 hundredths.